It's been a long time since we ran into a Subaru that we really liked, but now we hope that's about to change. This is the brand new Outback, Subaru's once wagon, now with new, very SUV-like styling and changes that we're hoping fix a lot of the problems that we've had with modern Subarus. And we're throwing it straight to the lions because it's going up against this thing. This is the Honda Passport, their big, boxy, extra practical middle child between the CR-V and the Pilot. This is going to be a tough, tough battle. We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. The Outback's new look is controversial, especially for wagon lovers like myself. But what we think was actually more important was that this thing get a makeover on the interior, and this is so much better. Arguably the weakest part of Subarus traditionally has been their interiors. And while the design of this, it might not wow you in the way that a Hyundai might, what we have here is way more functional, easy to use, and better looking than what the Outback had before. It starts with this new touchscreen. Now, gone is the old vertically oriented screen with its dated and hard to use operating system and slow response time. This new infotainment system is actually brand new for Subaru. It's got a much better menu structure and the graphics are better, and it's got more processing power too. And that last part is important because the old screen, it was so slow that you could actually press it and nothing would happen for a few seconds. And it was so low resolution that it was actually hard to make out what you were seeing on its cameras. However, that's been fixed too. As you can see, surround view camera here, high resolution, and it's very easy to see with these multiple views everything that's happening around the vehicle. Now with this infotainment system, you're of course getting wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay standard, and they do look great and they take up the whole screen. And this thing has one more cool trick up its sleeve. If you have directions here through CarPlay or Android Auto, you can actually mirror this view on the instrument cluster in front of the driver. There's just one catch. If you're using CarPlay, you're gonna have to use Apple Maps or Waze. With Android Auto, you can use Google Maps. And this 12.3-inch instrument cluster display in front of the driver, it comes standard, which is pretty awesome. As for charging, you're getting a wireless charging pad up here and two USB charging ports. Though weirdly, one of them is a USB-C and one of them is an old school USB-A, which is kind of a weird thing to include on a brand new vehicle. Though this new screen is great, Subaru has actually taken some controls out of it, and that is a change for the better. So now you're getting buttons and knobs for all the climate controls, and they're very well laid out and easy to use. Same thing could be said about the steering wheel controls. This whole cabin, it's very intuitive. Everything is within easy reach of the driver. Big thumbs up from us on the control scheme. There's also an improvement when it comes to small item storage. Now, it's not great for an SUV. The center console bin isn't that big, but you do get a little spot here, another spot here to fit your stuff, and one of our favorite features, a shelf in front of the passenger. The cup holders, they aren't that big. They don't fit our water bottle, but what you do get are nicely sized door pockets, and they're actually carpeted, so they're not just hard plastic like you're gonna find in many other vehicles. These front seats, they're comfortable, they've got decent bolstering, but they don't feel all that special. Now, we have to mention this is a limited version of the Outback. It's middle trim level, so it's not going to feel quite as special as the top trim of the Passport that we're going to get into later. But the materials and everything else, looking around for a mid-grade model, it's pretty good. If you're liking what you're seeing out of the Outback, or if you're in the market for any other new car, head over to Edmunds. We've got all the information and tools to help you with your search, including ones that will help you find the best price. Check out the links in the description. I'm just under 6 feet tall in this back seat. It's definitely got adult-friendly dimensions. Even though the Outback might look a lot bigger, it's actually got the exact same length wheelbase as before, so your backseat legroom is unchanged, but that's fine because, I mean, just look. What has changed though is it's gotten taller, and that means that you're getting even more headroom. And yeah, even if you're well over 6 feet tall, you're gonna be pretty comfortable in this back seat. If I had one wish, it is that it would recline a little bit more, but it's pretty natural. And I think that you could settle in here for long drives without any real trouble. Now, features. On the back here of these seats, you're actually getting 2 tiered pockets, and one of them is perfectly sized to fit your phone, so it's going to be nice and secure there. And if you need to charge it, you're getting 2 USB charging ports, but again, one of them is a USB-A port, which is a bit of a weird decision. Air vents right here, and on this mid-grade trim level, you're also getting heated outboard rear seats, which is not a feature you're going to find in most competitors outside of the top trims. If there is one catch to this back seat, it is that the door openings, they are not super wide, so fitting in a car seat might be a little bit troublesome. And these lower latch anchors, they're hidden below these Velcro flaps, which are a bit hard to get to. Honda has a better solution for that, as we're going to see in a minute, but overall, this is a back seat that we really like. Where the Outback's new shape makes a big difference is here in the cargo area. You're getting 34.6 cubic feet of cargo space behind the back seat, and that's only up about 2 cubic feet over the old one. The bigger change though is the shape of the area. It's now taller and shaped a bit more like a box, so it's actually much easier to fit larger items. If you drop the back seat via these handy pulls here in the cargo area, that expands up to 80.5 cubic feet, which is great for a mid-size SUV. However, my favorite part of this new cargo area is actually this cargo cover, and it solves a big problem that we've had with those traditionally in SUVs, and that is that they are big, they're kind of unwieldy, and when you're not using them, there isn't a good place to store them, so they end up living on the floor of your garage. So to solve for that, Subaru has made one out of cloth. It's got these hooks on it and little magnets in front, which makes it easy to take off, and that means that when you're not using it, you can just bundle it up like this and toss it in the back. CVT is usually a dirty word when it comes to driving, but you know what? In this thing, I actually don't mind it. Wild. I mentioned before that this was a limited, but that isn't quite the full story, because this is a limited XT. And those last 2 initials are important because that means you've got the optional turbocharged 4-cylinder engine under the hood, and that's the one that you want. It's got an extra 80 horsepower and nearly 100 pounds-feet more of torque than the base engine. Now my buddy Nick, he had a chance to test out an Outback with the base engine at the first drive, and he said that with that thing under the hood, this vehicle can feel a little bit sluggish. However, with the XT, absolutely none of that. It's got tons of power, 0 to 60 in just 6.5 seconds at our test track, which is pretty quick for a mid-size SUV. And that means that whether you're passing, merging, towing, anything, it's just got plenty of power on tap for you at all times. And it's not just what's under the hood that has me feeling good here in the new Outback. This thing drives completely differently than the old one because its suspension has also really been improved. It feels agile and athletic without compromising ride quality or comfort. And dare I say that the steering feel is even good, and it's actually kind of fun to drive. Sitting here behind the wheel, this actually reminds me of a Mazda, and that's a real compliment because the way that it drives is superb. You don't have to make an SUV that has great handling, but if you do, we're definitely going to give you your props. Now, if there's one thing that I don't like, it's tied to that CVT, and that's because when you put your foot into it, it doesn't sound very good. It does like this artificial kickdown thing, kind of like it has gears, so it feels fine. It's just a little bit noisy and grainy from the engine. And overall, this thing isn't quite as quiet as some other SUVs. But if that's our biggest complaint, it's doing pretty well. In our time with the Outback, all the driver aids seem to work normally and just as you would expect. This vehicle actually has a new driver attention monitor, so it does beep at you less than other Subarus, which is a good thing, but it's still a touch too sensitive for my liking. And when you're using the adaptive cruise control, the steering wheel isn't great at telling if your hands are on it, so while you're driving along, sometimes you just gotta give it a little shake so those alarms don't go off. But overall, the safety features seem to work quite well. Visibility is good naturally too. You've got big glass all around you, although you do have a bit of a blind spot over both shoulders because the C-pillars are a little bit thick. But as we saw before, the surround view camera system is excellent and it makes it easy to maneuver the Outback in tight spaces. Now there is one more safety feature coming on the Outback that we can't test quite yet. Touring models are actually going to be the first Subarus to debut a new hands-free highway system from the company. They tell us that it will be available in 6 months or so, and once it comes out, we'll be sure to test it right away. One thing to know though, if you buy an Outback Touring before it comes out, to get it activated, you're going to have to go into a dealership. It's not something that they can activate over the air. So this Outback is undoubtedly improved, even if I hate this new styling and miss the wagon. All that black cladding down below, don't like it at all. But if that's the trade-off to get these targeted improvements to the old car's weaknesses and added utility, it's definitely worth it. Now, let's go check out the Honda. This isn't perfect, what is? And it's got a potential gas station sized deal breaker, but we think this is the best SUV that Honda makes, and it's one of our favorite SUVs of the entire year. Now, even though the Passport is technically shorter than the Outback, it's got about 5 inches of extra wheelbase and it's about 4 inches wider. And that means all this space. This is a vehicle that we know very well because it's a part of our 1-year road test program, where we keep a vehicle for a year and 20,000 miles or so to find out what it's like to live with day to day and then share those insights with all of you. So to keep up with this Passport or any of the other 20 or so vehicles that currently reside in the Edmunds garage, stick with us. Now, it's a bit weird to start off an interior section by going over small item storage, but it's so good in this SUV that I simply can't start anywhere else. In every single aspect, it's a step better than the Outback. That shelf in front of the passenger, it's even bigger. And these cup holders, they're bigger too. They even fit our big water bottle. And this bin up here, it's bigger too, and it's even rubberized so your stuff won't slide around, and the wireless charging pad is there as well. And then we come to this absolutely gigantic center bin. It will fit all the trail mix you need for a long journey. Honda does offer a blacked out version of this interior, but I like the one that we have here a bit more. I think that adding in this brown leather makes it feel a bit more sophisticated and gives it a touch more dimension. And as is typical of Honda interiors of late, the materials are great. These switches are covered in metal and they feel satisfyingly clicky. It's just a really well executed interior treatment. These front seats, they are a bit on the softer side. So some of our staff have said that they had trouble settling into them on longer drives. But then again, other members of our staff said that they really like them. So your mileage may vary. Now here in the Trail Sport Elite that we're in, the seats are going to come with heating and ventilation, both of which work great, though we do have to note that if you're running the seat ventilators at full bore, they do make a lot of fan noise. The Passport also fixes one big, or should I say small, problem that has plagued Hondas of late: small screen syndrome. But this thing, a 12.3-inch touchscreen, comes standard, and just as importantly, you're also getting Honda's latest infotainment system with Google integration. On some of their other vehicles, like the Civic and the CR-V, they actually lock you out from getting this infotainment system unless you pay for the top trim level, but here on the Passport, it's standard, and that's a big improvement. We like how high this screen is mounted up on the dashboard. It makes it easier to glance at while you're driving and quickly get information without having to take your eyes off the road for too long. And it's also still within easy reach of both the driver and the passenger, so the ergonomics are good. And in both of these vehicles, you also get a nice little shelf below the screen where you can put your hand while you're using it. Being able to do that makes it much easier to push the spots where you want. Now, with Google powering the navigation and the voice commands, both of those are great in this vehicle. And we also really like that Honda is going to give you 3 years of free data to power those things before you'll need a subscription. Now, just like in the Subaru, here in the digital instrument cluster, you can mirror the maps, but it doesn't do it as big or as cleanly. It just kind of takes up this little box here on the right. One thing to note though, you can do this with directions from the native navigation, or if you're using Android Auto. If you're using Apple CarPlay, you're only going to be able to see the turn-by-turn directions, so it's not nearly as useful. And for charging, you're getting 2 USB-C charging ports up here, a wireless charging pad below that, and just like in the Subaru, an excellent surround view camera system to see everything around you. This interior as a whole sets a new bar for Honda. There have been elements of other Honda vehicles that we've liked on the inside, but it hasn't all come together until now. Here in the back seat of the Passport is where you really start to feel that extra room. The back seat of the Outback, it's pretty big, but this thing, it's massive. Over 4 extra inches of shoulder room means that you can actually fit 3 passengers across the back of the Passport and they won't feel packed in like sardines. And if you look at this, legroom and headroom are both expansive, and the Passport also offers a panoramic moonroof, which means that it makes the cabin feel even more open than what you're getting in the Subaru. Now, I do have to say, these seat cushions, they are, in contrast to the front, they're a touch too firm. And if you're sitting back here and someone else is driving a bit aggressively, you can feel like you're sliding around a bit. And I also wish that they could recline a bit more. They don't have any other recline settings, but what's here, it's fairly comfortable as is, and there's enough room for a long trip. You're also getting integrated rear sunshades, which is a great feature for kids. And speaking of kids, these ultra wide door openings and more easily accessible lower latch anchors make this better for installing car seats. You can have a rear facing one in here with plenty of room for the front passenger. They won't need to move up at all. And it's so wide that if you have 2 kids and you want to sit between them, I don't know why you'd want to do that. You can do it pretty easily. We talked a bunch about small item storage up front. It's also actually great here in the rear, which you're not going to find in many other SUVs. You get these great 2-tiered door pockets, just like the ones up front, and the cup holders in them, big enough to fit the water bottle. I also really like the back of this center console for the backseat passengers. You're getting controls here for the climate to adjust temperature and fan speed. You're also getting heated outboard rear seats here on the Trail Sport Elite. You're getting 2 USB-C charging ports, and one more feature you're not going to find in the back of the Subaru, a household outlet. Another area where the Honda has an advantage over the Outback is out back. It's got an absolutely massive cargo area, 44 cubic feet of cargo room behind its back seat. That's about 10 more than you're getting in the Subaru. Now, when you fold the back seats down, the numbers are closer between these two, but when it comes to storage behind the back seat, the Honda takes the cake all day. And it's also got better features in its cargo area as well. There are 4 bins for smaller items so they don't roll around, and you're also getting this great underfloor storage space right here. This is a great place to put dirty items because you can actually take this bin out and wash it out with a hose or something if you need to clean it. You're also getting more towing with the Honda. It's got an advantage with up to 5,000 pounds of towing capacity, and if you're looking for an advantage on your next new car, we've got the tools at Edmunds to help you out, including one that will give you an instant cash offer on your current set of wheels. Check out the links in the description. Now, we can't get out of here without showing you my favorite feature of this cargo area, and that's back here next to this household outlet, which is great for tailgates. This button right here activates the walk away tailgate close feature. So let's say I've got a bunch of stuff back here that I want to carry out. I can pick all of it up after I press that button. I've got 30 seconds to clear the area, and when I do, this thing will close automatically and the car will lock. The Passport starts life as a Honda Pilot, but then it gets shortened and it loses a row in the process. And that means it has the same engine under the hood, a 3.5 liter V6, but you are getting a shortened final drive ratio here in this vehicle. Now, that might sound complicated, but what it means is actually pretty simple. This makes it feel a lot more substantial and powerful than when you're driving the Pilot. The engine is just a lot more responsive overall, though that does come at the expense of one thing that we're going to get into a little bit later. Now, at our test track, this thing was 7.8 seconds from 0 to 60 miles an hour, which is a full second behind the Subaru. The Outback definitely feels quicker. The ride is pretty good, even though we're in a Trail Sport model with all-terrain tires. The RTL, it comes on a street tire and it rides even better and it's even quieter. Although at our test track, we also test for sound, and both Passport models were quieter than the Outback at highway speeds. The Passport, it's not as athletic or agile as the Outback is. The suspension is softer, there's more body roll, and when you're going down the road, taking turns, it doesn't feel quite as dialed in. And the steering, weirdly, I don't quite like it. And that's a strange thing to say because that's something that Honda usually nails. But here in the Passport, there's this weird kind of dead spot at the top of the wheel. So I can kind of go like this and nothing happens. It makes it feel like a Wrangler in some ways. And that's not a positive association if you're talking about steering. Now, when it comes to driver aids, all the conventional stuff, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping, lane centering, and everything has worked pretty well for us in our testing. You're not gonna get a hands-free system like you are in the Subaru, but what's here, it works pretty well and we don't really have any complaints. Visibility is also going to match what you're having in the Outback thanks to these big windows all around, and there are also giant C-pillars here, so there are decently sized blind spots over both shoulders. But that being said, this is a very easy vehicle to drive day to day. The brakes feel confident and it's very easy to accelerate and stop smoothly so your passengers won't complain. And the safety features, they all work as advertised. You're getting adaptive cruise control and lane centering. Both of those, we like how they operate, but you aren't going to get a hands-free system like you will in the Subaru eventually. The camera systems are once again excellent, and here in the Trail Sport, you're even going to get a washer, so if you're off-road and they get covered in mud, you can clean them off and then you can see without having to hop out of the vehicle. With the Subaru's improvements cutting into many of the Honda's traditional advantages, there is still one card the Passport can play that the Outback can't match, and that's size. If you want the absolute most passenger and cargo room, this Honda is still gonna be the king if you don't need 3 rows. Before we get into value and share our winner, if you've been enjoying our videos, please toss us a like and subscribe. They go a long way towards helping us to make more of them. And if you have any questions about either of these vehicles, a video you want us to make, or a new taco place for me to try out, please leave it in the comments below. We do read them all. All right, so let's talk value. The Outback, its base price is a lot lower than that of the Passport, in part because it's got a lot more trim levels. But this mid-grade Limited that we have here, it is actually priced very competitively. Even with the upgraded engine, this thing costs about the same as the base model of the Honda, and you're getting better performance with the engine. You're also getting more features like those heated rear seats, and that gives this thing a serious leg up on value. And on top of that, I think the Limited XT is really the sweet spot of this lineup, unless you're gonna go off-road and you want the wilderness, or if you really want all the fancy stuff with the touring, this is gonna be the right Outback for most people. Now for the Honda. This Passport Trail Sport Elite is basically fully loaded. You can also add a blackout package like we mentioned before, but we didn't really want that on our car anyway. Now, just like the Subaru, this also feels like you're getting a lot of stuff for your money with the room, interior quality, and technology that's packed into this vehicle. But I do think that just like in the Outback, again, better value is found lower down in the trim lineup. So if you go down to the RTL, the base model, which is really misleading to call it because it too has a ton of equipment, you're getting a vehicle that's better to drive on the street, but still offers better value. That's the one that I think is better for most people, unless, again, you want to go off-road and you want all that trail sport goodness. That leads us to one final area where the Subaru definitely wins on value, and that's going to be fuel economy. Remember that shorter final drive ratio we mentioned in the Passport that makes it better to drive? Well, it also makes it significantly less efficient. The Outback gets up to 27 mpg combined with its base engine, and with the turbocharged engine, you're still getting 24 mpg here in the Limited XT. Passport RTL models get 21 mpg, and this Trail Sport drops down to 20. So what does that mean for you? It means that if you're driving 15,000 miles a year at national average fuel prices, you'll save about $500 a year on gas by choosing the Outback with a base engine, and $350 a year if you're choosing the turbo. And those savings, they will quickly add up, as will the time that you'll save from not having to fill up as much, because this thing goes about 100 miles further on a full tank than the Honda does. Add all that together and it gives the Outback a pretty big win when it comes to value, and I can't believe it. Coming into this comparison, this was not a result that I expected, in large part because we love the Passport so much. It really is an excellent vehicle. But after all of the testing, driving, examining, poking, and prodding, the numbers and the Edmunds rating, they do not lie. This was a dominant performance from the Outback. It won 4 of our categories outright, tied in 2 others, and the only win that the Passport could manage was in storage and cargo, where it is probably the best midsize SUV for that, bar none. This was a great performance from the Outback. It is a worthy winner of our comparison with the better overall rating. The Honda, it will always be there for you if maximizing passenger and cargo space is your priority. But if you want the better all-around vehicle, the one with the better driving experience, the one with, and I can't believe I'm saying this, better technology, it's gonna be the Subaru that's worth your time and your dollars. And the gap between these 2 vehicles, it could grow even wider if that forthcoming hands-free system is any good at all. This is simply the best Subaru product that we've come across in years, and it is a worthy winner of this comparison. Thanks for watching.